What is up, duelists? Super Insane 18 here, and as you can see, I am in the car in the middle of the desert, and that is because I am on my way to win a case tournament in Phoenix, Arizona. And it wouldn't be a Yu-Gi-Oh road trip unless we're stopping at Walmart to get some packs and see if we can test our luck. So that was the only Walmart in Kingman, Arizona, and they do not have Yu-Gi-Oh packs. But there is a GameStop just down the road that way, so we're gonna head over there and pick up some packs because, again, it's not a Yu-Gi-Oh trip unless we rip open some packs. She doesn't necessarily want to be on camera, so we're just going to show you guys her her hands here while she opens these. She got, looks like the Urgala Field Center. Alright, and then go ahead and crack your packs. Apologies if you guys can hear the air conditioning. It's like 1 billion degrees here in the middle of the desert. We got a forced release. We got a Jockle. Let's hope this isn't Oops All Supers. We got a Ripper. This is just all canine. I think the world is telling you to play canines.
No, I play Yummy or Morgana. Hate me, I don't care.
And we got a Cookie Yummy Way. Unfortunately, not one of the ones we need. I already have that, but for some reason, out of nearly 2 cases, we have not pulled a single Cupsy or Lollipo. So let's go ahead and go to my packs. All right, let's see if I can do any better, if I can even open this box. All right, so we got the Cupsy Field Center. So that is good since we are playing Yummy. And then, of course, we have our 4 packs. Pack number 1 is going to be an Ultra. Oh, that is a collector's rare Yummy Snatchy.
Oh, how do I zoom? Give me a sec, I suck at this.
That's awesome. My wife doesn't know how to use the function or the focusing, but there you go. That is a collector's rare Yummy Snatchy. I'm actually going to put that in my deck for this weekend. Collector's raring out the deck is something that I really wanted to do, so that's pretty awesome. That is already much better hit. Let's see what else we can do. We got a Ripper. The rest of the pack doesn't necessarily matter. Wow, I can't believe that we just hit a CR Yummy. Next we have another Jokel. And then for the final pack, I don't think we're going to get anything. We've already hit the big hit in our first pack. But we are going to get another hit because there's not a super. It is a Lucius. Okay, not bad. Not what I needed, though. I still needed a Phimena and a Malulu. But we did get 2 hits. Let me grab the collector's rare Snatchy out of here. And then we got the Ripper. So here are the hits out of ours. Definitely a better box than she got, and definitely huge hit on this. So yeah, that's already good luck. So I'm feeling very confident about this weekend. Time to hit the road again. Ed and the Alex here, and I just wanted to call attention to the logo at the start of the video. As you saw, it says Road to Regionals. This is going to be a new series where I vlog my tournaments that I go to in preparation of going to a regional and then vlogging the regional itself. Just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about that while we are looking at the beautiful desert that we are driving through. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the series, and if you want to see more vlogs like this, let me know in the comments down below. We are almost to Phoenix. We've been on the road about 5 hours now, so just giving you guys a little bit of an update. Once we get to our hotel, I will go ahead and give you guys a rundown of the deck profile and why we're playing what we're playing, and then you won't see anything until tomorrow morning when we're at the case tournament, but just want to let you guys know we are almost there. Alright, so we are here and we are settled, so let's go ahead and run you guys through the profile and some of the theory. We're going to go really quickly because this isn't meant to be a dedicated profile video, so we might be speeding some things up, we might just be glossing over some things, but we will get to the meat and potatoes of it. Of course, we are on all of our Yummy names. This is because these are all the 1-card starters, and just super crucial, this is the Yummy package. You don't want to play it no more, no less. They are all 1-card starters. But then we're moving over to our Mitsurugi package. We have the 3 Habakiri, of course, the 1 copy of the Murakumo, and then we have 1 each of the little guys. These pretty much function as an additional starter with the Habakiris and the Aramasa. The other 3 are just the engine requirements, but it fixes a big problem that I have identified with pure Yummy, and that is that a lot of times if your opponent can just get rid of whatever you normal summon, you lose the game, and that's what was occurring in a lot of my testing, so I wanted to find a way to kind of mitigate that. Having an additional engine on top of it definitely helps mitigate that, but it works even better when you realize that both of the engines are able to bridge into each other, which we will talk a little bit about as we go on. Then we have the 1 copy of the Snake Eye Birch, and if you haven't seen the deck profile, if you haven't seen the combo tutorial, you might be questioning, why are you playing the Snake Eye Birch? That is because this card fully bridges you from your Mitsurugi engine into your Yummy engine. You can search this off of a rank 4 that we will get to in the extra deck, and then you can special summon it, and because it's a 1, you can then use it to synchro into your Cupsy Yummy Way and search your Yummy cards, and it's just really, really good. But not just that, it's also kind of like a brick fixer. If you open up all hand traps, you can normal summon a hand trap, link it off into Almirage, special this because Almirage is a fire, and then Almirage plus this also makes the Cupsy Yummy Way. So really, really strong card, really, really potent. Never really possible to brick on it. If you brick on this, I don't know what your hand could possibly be. Onto the hand traps, we have our 3 copies of Ash Blossom. We're on 3 Ogres and 3 copies of Fuwalos. These might change. The only change that I'm considering making to the deck is dropping 1 of the Ghost Ogres and adding in 2 copies of the Bell, which would put the card count up from 41 to 42, but it does provide a little bit of additional versatility and a technical higher hand trap count. So that might be a change that I make. I just kind of want to sleep on it before I decide. On to the spells, of course, we have our 2 copies of Surprise, and then we have our 1 copy of Mignon. This is all you need for the Yummy engine. You don't need to play the Acro QE because in this particular version of the deck, it is more of a brick than anything, and it doesn't really help you all that much. You kind of want to keep your Yummies having the attack bonus. Then we have our 2 copies of Prayers. You're not maxing out on this because this actually isn't a starter for this deck. This is a combo piece and a recursion piece later on after you've comboed. Opening this doesn't actually let you do the combo to bridge into the Yummies from the Mitsurugi, so you would rather not actually open it. Of course, we have our 1 copy of the Ritual just because we need to be able to summon our Ritual monsters. And then we have our Striker package with the 3 copies of Engage and our 1 Hornet Drones. That doesn't really need to be explained. It is just a 1-card full starter. And finally, we have the 1-for-1, which is another starter. This brings the starter count up to 18 in the deck, which in a 41-card deck is a 95% chance of seeing these starters. We have the 3 copies of Droplet. This is one of the theories that I wanted to go over with you guys, because I think that for now, this is definitely better than something like Infinite Impermanence. We are in a format where your opponent is going to play on your turn 0 with cards like Holly Sue, the Canine cards, etc. And they're going to do that after you've already put cards on the board, meaning that Imperm is almost next to useless. Speaking of, Imperm is one of those cards that it almost never feels correct to actually use on your opponent's turn, because every deck can play through a single negate, so it's better to actually use as a board breaker to turn something off on their end board. So if I'm not going to be using it turn 0 anyway when my opponent's going first, this is just the better card since I can use it on my turn 0 when they attempt to play on my turn. But the really big interaction that I wanted for this is because one of the decks that this struggles with the most is unfortunately Mitsurugi Raziel, because we lose to board wipes. So the way around that is to stop the board wipe from happening, which we can do with a quick play negate like this, but this also prevents them from responding, meaning that they couldn't dodge it like they would be able to do if you were playing something like Forbidden Chalice. In a world where you go Forbidden Chalice, target the Murakumo, they could detonate or chain, pop the Murakumo, and dodge the Chalice. They can't do that with Droplet, so this is just one of the theories that I think will pay off pretty well, and I know the locals that this is happening at, and I've seen quite a bit of Mitsurugi Raziel, so it's just a little bit of a meta call. And the 41st card is going to be the Great Purification, just because you want an additional Omni negate, so let's show you guys the extra. The extra is really self-explanatory. We have one of each of the Cupsy Synchros, if I can, or the Yummy Synchros, if I can lay those out properly. These don't really need explaining. And then of course we have the Marcher with our 2 Heralds. Now Herald is actually a bridge from the Yummy into the Mitsurugi. As I said, you can bridge the deck both ways. Yummy can get Mitsurugi, Mitsurugi can get Yummy. You do a nib check when you have the Marcher. If they do not nib you here, your next summon is the Herald. So if you get to Herald, it's safe to assume that they don't have the Nibiru, meaning that you can safely link away the Herald, and when Herald goes to grave, it will search the Habakiri. At which point you are forfeiting one of your negates, yes, but you are getting another negate in the trap for Mitsurugi, and you're just going to make the second Herald on their turn anyway, so you're not really losing much, and you're getting an additional negate and a board wipe on top of it, so I think it's really, really impactful. Then we have the Infernal Flame Banshee and the Gravity Controller. This is how you bridge the Mitsurugi into the Yummy. You're going to go ahead and search the Birch off of the Banshee, special summon it, then link the Banshee off into the Gravity Controller, link 1 plus level 1 equals Cupsy. Really simple stuff. If you haven't seen my combo tutorial, go ahead and check that out. I'll probably be making an updated one after this event anyway. We're on 2 copies of Snatchy. You don't need the 3rd in this variant, and space is very tight, so it was just the most obvious card to cut, given everything else that we wanted to play. And then we have our 1 copy of Link Spider, our 1 Almirage, and our 1 Kagari. These are just all the best Link ones that you need. I do think that Link Spider is a little more important in this variant, since you are linking away your Herald, so you want to make sure that you have a really, really good Nibiru counter. Then for the Link 2s, we of course have our SP Little Knight and our Uka. You need the Uka for the combo, which you guys will see. I will go over it later on. And then the SP is just the generic SP. So let's move on to the side deck. Now, the side deck is going to be 3 copies of Droll. Because this deck does struggle with Mitsurugi Raziel, and I am metagaming a tiny bit by knowing the locals this tournament is at, this just felt like a really impactful hand trap to have in our sideboard. We, of course, then have our 3 copies of Perulia for when we are guaranteed going second. We want to make sure we have 6 Charmies in our deck. Moving on to the Cs, we have our 2 Retaliating Cs and our 2 Contact Cs. These are really good into things like Draco Tail and Yummy. Yummy, you can go ahead and Retaliating C them when they summon off the field spell, and then if or when they out this, you search the Contact C, which just screws them over even more, so it's really, really good. And then we are on 2 copies of Lightning Storm. This is again a little bit of a metagaming call. I know that this locals does have Crystron players, and with their ability to search Clockwork Knight, I don't want to just lose by a Saki Floodgate, so this is going to be the way to out it. But this locals is also still on a lot of Fiendsmith players the last time I was there, so being able to use this to just auto-destroy something like the Caesar is really, really good. And finally, we have the 3 copies of the Judgment, which are just here as a going first card when we have to side out our Charmies, but that should be all the theory that I want to tell you guys. It did go a little bit longer, so hopefully you're still here, but I want to make sure that you guys understand what I'm doing going into this event, so we will see you guys at the tournament. Alright guys, it is Saturday morning, the day of the case tournament. We are driving through Phoenix now to get there, so we will keep you updated on the tournament. Again, I am aiming to win. I really think that I have a shot with Yummy Mitsurugi. I think it is the best variant of the deck, and we will see how that plays out in the event. So we are going to kick off round 1 with the dice roll, and you will see that I lose the dice roll, allowing my opponent to go first, which isn't optimal, obviously, but we can see that when he activates his Rahu and I immediately meet it with the Ash Blossom, that essentially ends his turn. Unfortunately, he bricked. He's going to set 1 in the back row, set a monster, and pass his turn. I will normal summon the Lollipo for my turn, which represents full combo, but unfortunately my opponent has the Flame to negate the Mignon. Unfortunately for him though, I can still special summon the Cookie in my hand, which represents full combo again, so I'm going to go ahead and go into Cupsy, which he then meets with an Ash Blossom, if my memory serves correct, which we see it does. I go ahead and tag out the Cupsy, which again just puts 2 more names back on board, representing the fact that I still have full combo, which you are going to see. I still set up my board, getting into my Marcher and my Herald, and I'm going to pass on just the Herald and a negated Lollipo, which isn't the best, but it is fine for this deck. My opponent starts with a normal summon of Dragon because he really wants to be able to clear out my Herald, so he just attacks into it, but unbeknownst to him, I am on ritual, so I use the Herald to search the Habekiri, which pretty much seals the game in my favor. My opponent goes into main phase 2 and activates the Ketu, but what I do is, even though the Lollipo is negated, I can still activate its effect, putting it back in the extra deck, meaning that I do not control any monsters, so he does not get the effect of Fusion Summon, which is insanely good. You can see that my opponent's deliberating on what to add off of the Ketu, but I think, if memory serves, he ultimately decides on adding a copy of Fimena to his hand, meaning that he is going to be able to still fuse on my turn, meaning that because he also has the dragon, that can also represent something like a spell Trap Pop, which is what we're going to actually see. We're going to start our turn with a copy of the Mitsurugi Prayers, which my opponent goes and Ash Blossoms to make sure that I can't play, but I did open the Saji, so we are going to normal it, still getting access to our Mitsurugi engine regardless, and you'll see here that I'm going to search for a copy of the Mitsurugi Ritual spell, which I will immediately activate, prompting my opponent to use his Fimena, fusing off the dragon and I believe a hedgehog, in order to go into a copy of El Shadal Winda, meaning that this ritual summon is going to be the only special summon that I get for the remainder of this turn. However, that is absolutely fine by me because I was ritual summoning from the hand, meaning that Habekiri will hit the field, which is naturally stronger than Winda anyway, but also lowers it by 800 attack. We see that the dragon is able to pop the Mignon, but here I can go ahead and resolve my chains, getting the Habekiri off the Aramasa and recurring the ritual off of the Kusanagi that were sent from deck, and then I can go into battle, swing over the Winda, reopening my ability to special summon now that Winda is no longer on field. I can go ahead and link the Saji into our copy of Almirage, putting a link 1 on the board, allowing for the special of Cookie, which again just represents full combo, and because I'm able to go into the Cupsy and get the search, my opponent is going to just end up conceding the match because there is nothing left that he can do. Now, we're not going to show too much of Game 2 out of interest of not making this a 10-hour video, but you can see here the important part is that my opponent had an absolutely absurd field, and then he responds to my normal summon of Cupsy with the Horn, bouncing it back to the hand, which is essentially just going to end my turn without anything left to do. It's just going to be game, so I will concede, and we can move on to Game 3. Kicking off Game 3, our opponent is going to start with a Perulia, but thankfully for us, we have the Sky Striker package, which is the best way to play into Perulia in this deck. So we're going to go ahead and perform all of that, and then special summon a Cookie, using it plus the Kagari to go into our Cupsy in case our opponent has something like a Baylor or Imperm, but unfortunately for us, they had the Ash Blossom. Not too big of a deal though, because we can go ahead and just link off the Cupsy into our copy of Snatchy and grab the Mignon, which will represent full combo. You can see here we are going to be able to get into the full combo and make the Herald, but now we can actually link off the Herald and the negated Cupsy into a copy of SP Little Knight, allowing the Herald to activate, searching us a Habekiri, which represents full Mitsurugi combo on top of everything as well. So you can see here we get to our full board, set 3 end pass. And with the sets being Prayers, Great Purification, and a Solemn Judgment, there really isn't anything that our opponent can do, so that is going to be the game. Alright, so we just finished round 1. We are recording this on my phone because I have my camera set up over here, and we just don't want to keep moving it repeatedly, so the audio quality might not be as good as the professional microphone, but whatever. We won. We were against Dracotail, Shadal, and then he sided in Tearlament cards. My opponent resolved Havness on my turn 0. You'll see the gameplay on the screen. I'm probably going to commentate over it a little bit as well. You might have already seen it. I don't know how this is going to look post-editing, but we won our round 1, so we are moving on to round 2, and hopefully we're going to win the whole thing. We will see you guys after the next round. For round 2, we did go to Game 3. We will not be showing you as much footage just out of the interest of saving time for the finalized vlog, but you can see that we started with Perulia to our opponent's normal summon of the Fabled Lurry. They are on Fiendsmith K9, so they are going to represent the full Fiendsmith combo here. However, unfortunately for them, I am able to Ghost Bell the activation of the Engraver, which means that there isn't any way for them to continue the Fiendsmith line, but they do have the Chaotic element allowing them to search for a Jokel, meaning that they do also represent the full K9 line here, so they're going to Jokel reveal the Lupus. This is of course going to allow them to get into their Izuna, and then because I activated effects, they can go ahead and use the effect of Thrust to set Black Goat. They will end their turn by setting one more and passing it on to us. We can start with the Sky Striker combo, which will allow us to get into our full Yummy line as well, but we also have the Lollipo 2 special from our hand here as well, meaning that we can potentially use it to prevent our opponent from stopping our Cupsy, although this does activate their Forced Release, which will allow them to non-target pop the Lollipo, but we did have another name anyway. So we special summon out the Cookie, which will just represent the full combo here, so we can go ahead and go into our copy of Cupsy. We will end up activating the Droplet when they use the Werewolf to rip a card, just to lower its attack as well, and this will be where they activate the Black Goat, calling Snatchy. Although we did add the Cupsy off of the Cupsy as well, so we can just use that to search for the Mignon, which you can see here equates to the full board plus 3k on every Yummy monster, which is just going to be OTK, sealing the game for us. All right, round 2. Again, I'm not sure how the editing for this is going to go. You'll see gameplay on screen at some point. But we were against K9 Fiendsmith. No other engines, just K9 Fiendsmith. And it looked very rocky in Game 1. Game 1, I kind of full sent it into Mulch Armies, which I maybe shouldn't have done, but I really wanted to try to establish some board because I didn't know what I was against, and it screwed me. I ended up losing the game. But games 2 and 3, we got it, and you'll see there at the end, I actually made all of my Yummies just 3,500 or more, despite what my opponent had to attempt to stop me. So it was very good. We are 2-0. It is going to be 5 rounds cut to top 8, so we will see you guys for round 3. Round 3 is going to be a friendly fire into our buddy Hunter. Unfortunately, we did punt game 2 by messing up our siding patterns, so this is actually going to be game 3, which you can see we have our striker engine, which he can stop with the infinite impermanence. Unfortunately for him, we do still have our Mitsurugi engine as well, meaning that we can still fully get into our Yummy package by using the 2 4s to make the copy of Infernal Flame Banshee, which will search the copy of Snake Eye Birch, and then you can special the Birch and make the Cupsy Synchro using the Link 1 and the Level 1. Although that does not matter because we just had it anyway, so we special the cookie and go into our full Yummy line, which you can see equates to the full end board having all of these sets as well, the sets being the Prayers, the Great Purification, and the Surprise. It's just too much for our opponent to play through because we can still also make a second Herald on their turn, meaning that my opponent's going to have to concede, sealing round 3 for us. Alright, round 3, we're outside just because I want to stretch my legs, walk around a little bit, and it's very noisy in there, but we got it, and want to talk about one thing, or a couple things, I guess. We were against a buddy of mine, Hunter. Shoutouts to you if you are watching this. Game 1, if my memory serves correct, was a slaughter in my favor. I just kind of set up everything and he couldn't really do anything. Game 2, I made a very grave misplay. So my siding patterns are I typically take out one of my Surprise and one of my Prayers because I'm on 2 of each. And theoretically, if you're going second, you should never need more than one of each. So that was the plan, but I brain farted and I took out both Surprise. If I had the Surprise, I could have probably won that game. But going through my deck after I summoned the Cupsy, there was no Surprise to be had, and therefore I just had to concede because I couldn't get through his board regardless of what I was doing. Now let's go to game 3. I was able to just full combo. You will see I set up everything that the Yummy Mitsurugi deck is meant to do, and it paid off. He could not play the game, and we got the win. So we will see you guys at round 4. I'm going to show you just a little bit of game 2 of round 4 here, just because we are able to full combo thanks to our opponent admitting that they are not playing any hand traps, so we are able to fully bridge our Yummy package into our Mitsurugi package, ending on all of our set cards with the SP, the Cupsy, and the Murakumo. Our opponent is on Kashtira K9 Crystron. Game 1 went until there was about 10 minutes left on the clock, and you can see here that I clearly get game 2. There's just nothing that our opponent can do, so we're going to move on to game 3 where something truly unfortunate takes place. But not before they attempt to Dark Ruler us, which you can see is just met with the Great Purification to negate it, since we can only not respond with monster effects, and that is what ultimately ends up sealing the game. Now, game 3 is incredibly tragic. We can see our opponent start with the Kashtira Field Spell, which I end up Ash Blossoming just because I don't want my opponent to be able to look at my extra deck and banish important key pieces. However, that does open me up to the full K9 combo. You can see they Jokul summon the Sulfefnir, then they can Azuna into the Lupus, and what they're going to do here is they're going to try to cheese the win in time with the C101 play, and you can see they still establish their cluster as well. Unfortunately for them, on my turn, I am able to bell the C101, and without the revive, it cannot actually gain life, and I have the Habetler, which represents full combo, but there's only 10 seconds on the clock, and I just can't seal it out, so it is a draw. We gotta go quickly because we went into time. Unfortunately, round 4 ended in a draw. We were against Kashtira K9 Crystron. Game 1 was like the entirety of the match. That took us until we had 10 minutes left. Game 2, I won pretty quickly, and we got screwed in time. Unfortunately, it was just, I had enough to push for game. I had 15 seconds for my turn, and yeah, so those are the time rules. Unfortunately, very, very bad, but we are 3-0-1, so still undefeated going into the final round, which means we should top cut no matter what. So we will see you guys after round 5 and let you know if we made it.
The fifth and final round is here, and it is against Dracotail. You can see that we start with our striker package, but our opponent uses the Phimena, sending a King of the Swamp and a Malulu to summon a Red Eyes Dark Dragoon on our turn 0, representing a negate and possible trouble for us. Resolving the Malulu, they can set the Ketu, and then we will continue our turn by special summoning out a Lollipo from our hand, getting into our Yummy package. We can go ahead and go into the Cupsy, but they do use the Ash Blossom, meaning there's only one card left in their hand. We can tag out the Cupsy into our Lollipo and continue to combo, though they do still have the Dragoon's Negate, which they use on the Snatchy. We go ahead and quick sync into the Lollipo to summon 2 back, and using the 2 that we summoned, we can go into the SP, banishing the Ketu they set, and with no cards left in hand, we put them on Better Have It. Unfortunately, they don't draw anything, so they're going to go ahead and just battle swing over, and you can see it jump straight to our turn where we are also declaring battle into the Dragoons. That is because one of the cards in our hand is going to be a Forbidden Droplet. So we can go ahead and discard a card. They cannot respond with the Dragoons. Dragoons will go down to 1500 attack, meaning that the SP is 100 over and can actually clear it. Now, I'm not going to show you too much more of the gameplay here because it is just a brick fest. I can't get over his Ash Blossom, he continues to hand trap me, and there's just really not a whole lot that I can do, which will prevent me from playing the game until a point where I can get to my Murakumo, wipe his board, and go for the game, securing the final round and our undefeated spot in Top Cut. We are once again in our little corner. We have finished round 5, gameplay on the screen in some way, shape, or form. We got it in game 3. Game 1, we won pretty easily. Our opponent just scooped without showing us what we were against, because I set up the full Yummy Mitsu combo and he couldn't play. Game 2, I just couldn't play through all his interacts. And then game 3 was an absolute shit show. I misplayed a bunch. My opponent didn't draw anything. So yeah, but I did end up taking it. I drew 2 Solemn Judgments. The final life count was 1375 to his 11. And then he just drew 2. He couldn't play. He just draw too many hand traps. I had a board. It was, again, very bad misplays on my end. It does not feel like a win, but we did get it. So we have secured our spot in top 8. We will not be first after Swiss because there is an undefeated XO. I am undefeated XO1, meaning that I have the draw. So we are going to be voting to play out Top Cut, and we will see you there. On to our top 8 match. This is going to be more of a retrospection because after having days to reflect and look back on it, I have identified a way that I absolutely could have won this match despite in the moment feeling like my opponent had sacked me. You can see that thanks to the 3 hand traps, he just ends on an Elasceletus, a set card, and 1 card in hand. Now this is game 3 and I had not seen a droplet yet. Surprise, surprise, that's what the set card is. So I was expecting that card to be a cluster, which is why I didn't normal summon the Fuwalos in my hand. I wanted to save it to use on his turn. However, in this instance, because he droplets the Snatchy, I do not have a further play, and it's going to have to pass to my opponent, meaning that Fuwalos is useless. Had I normaled the Fuwalos and gone into something like an Almirage, I could have then specialed the Lollipo, gone into Cupsy Synchro. Cupsy would have gotten negated, but I would have been able to go into Snatchy, get the Mignon reborn the Lollipo, and full combo. You can see here with no cards, my opponent does top deck the Lantern, which is the perfect top deck, so maybe you can still argue that that top deck was a sack. However, I did play incorrectly and I should have won on the previous turn. So with the full K9 combo, my opponent is able to win the game. He's going to go into the River Stormer and he is going to get the Scrap Recycler, and that is going to represent the full Crystron combo. But the reason I am showing you guys this and admitting to my mistakes is because that is the entire purpose of this series, to reflect and grow and learn from these experiences on my road to regionals. So I wanted to let you guys know exactly where it could have gone better and what I could have done. I did make the wrong play, and sometimes it is what it is, but that is going to kick us out of the Top Cut, and unfortunately, we do not end the day truly undefeated. All right, as you can see with the standings somewhere on the screen, I took second after Swiss. It had to be unanimous to split, so we did not split. We did play out our top 8, and so I went against 7th place, who was on K9 Crystron. Game 1, I got very sacked. The only playable cards in my hand were Mitsurugi combo, and this is the only deck in the format that is main decking Droll and Lockbird. So this was the first time I got Droll and Lockbird at the entire event, which Mitsurugi just can't really play again or play into. So I lost game 1. Game 2 was incredibly decisive. I won it just pretty much immediately. My opponent could not play, so we go to game 3. And game 3, I unfortunately got sacked again. The opener is Bell, Ash, Perulia, Lollipo, and the Mitsurugi Ritual spell card. So using Perulia, Ash, and Bell, I make it so that my opponent ends on pretty much nothing. He has Eleskeletus on field with a set card and 1 card in hand. I think I win the game because Lollipo Normal is full combo. I go ahead, I Lollipo or backtracking for a second, draw for turn. The draw is Fuwalos. So I draw the Fuwalos, I go Lollipo Normal, go into Snatchy, Snatching effect, and his set is Droplet. Okay, cool. We are in a top deck war. He has 0 cards in hand. The only card on field is Eleskeletus and nothing live in his graveyard. He does have some canine cards like Lupus, but I'm out of hand traps. I can't do anything. The only thing I have left is Fuwalos, but I have cards on the field. So I set the Ritual so I don't have 2 in hand, just to make sure that he can't summon the Azuna, and I pass. Unfortunately for me, he top decks, and his top deck was the Lantern, so he Lantern summons 1 from grave, goes into River Stormer into Scrap Recycler, and just full Crystron combos and kills me. So that is the end of our run. Not quite sure where the vlog is going to go from here. Maybe this is the end, maybe it's not. If it is the end, thank you guys for watching. And you know the deal, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, and share with your friends, all that jazz. Hopefully I will get some more footage for you guys, but we will see where this goes. All right, and last minute shout out, because after finishing recording the profile, my top 8 opponent, his name is Wang, came over and gave me some of his winnings as a thank you for the game. He was also really excited to be on the channel. So yeah, shout out to you. I guess I walked away with a little bit more than I expected, so we'll see if we pull anything good. All right, so we didn't get any other footage at the end of the tournament. There really wasn't anything to do. They ended up splitting in top 4, so we are on our way home now. We have a 5-hour drive ahead of us. I don't know what this vlog is going to look like. I haven't edited it yet. Obviously, I'm still talking to you guys on the camera. And vlogs are just really difficult. There wasn't a whole lot of B-roll because all the B-roll was me playing games, so I guess you'll be able to see that. But yeah, if you guys made it this far, I just want to say thank you again for watching. Once again, you know the deal. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, and share with your friends. Check out the sponsors. All the links in the description down below. I already shouted them out. Huge shout outs to everybody that I shouted out in my deck profile. We've got Ricky, we've got Hunter, there's Duncan, and of course our last round opponent in top 8, Wang. Super cool and lovely person. Ended up giving us some of his top 4 prizing just because he was excited he could be on the channel. So we will see you guys in the next one.